Stuart and I have been talking about this topic for probably, well, Billiam and Brandon brought it up, and then me and Stu just talked about it. This
is what happened. This is shaking me to my core, and I brought it to Caleb's attention. I'm in this group chat, and it has Billiam.
Wait. Before you keep going, am I lagging?
Not really.
Okay, because you're going to have to be able to hear everything I say. So.
You're good. I'm in this group chat. I'm in multiple group chats, actually, with these kids. Billiam, the Florida guy, his roommate, Brandon, and they have said that Kyle Pitts is what do you want me to quote it specifically as? The best weapon in college football? Is that it?
I think the actual original wording was the best offensive weapon in college football.
Okay, so they have claimed Kyle Pitts is the best offensive weapon in college football. That was week 1. I disagreed strongly immediately with no stats to back it up. Here we are, 3 quarters through the season, maybe even more, and there's a ton of stats to back it up. Now, I like to preface with this whole argument with that. Kyle Pitts is probably a top 10 pick in the NFL. He's going to be great in the NFL. Huge tight end league. The tight end brand is growing. He's basically not even a tight end, you know? So I like the guy. He is definitely a weapon, but he is not the best offensive weapon in the college football. Now, also, this is a non-QB discussion. Just letting everyone know. This is excluding QBs. This is running back, wide receiver, tight end, lineman, I guess, but they're not really a weapon. They're bludgeons. So, so yeah, I guess Billiam, you can state your argument first, because you're the victim, or I'm taking you to court, I guess.
Yeah, this is like a trial almost.
Yeah, like I'm accusing you of something, and Caleb's the judge, and you're the defendant.
You're the defendant.
Defending your point.
Yeah, I'm the defendant, and you're the prosecutor.
Criminology guy. You should know about trials, right? Maybe not. That's
Billiam. Never. Who would you rather have on your team? Travis Etienne or DeVonta Smith, or Kyle Pitts and Najee?
Let's ask that question when we're done. Like when we're done with everything, because there'll be stats that come out.
That's a good question, but definitely an easy answer for me. I mean.
Yeah, I think it's an easy answer too, and it doesn't help my argument. So I want Billiam to speak right now.
Pitts and Najee. I mean.
Really?
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Freaking the other dudes.
All
right, let's hear it.
So, first of all, start this with an offensive weapon, right? A weapon is something used by, in my opinion, it's something used by the leader of the offense to score, pretty much.
Taking notes.
So, the quarterback is the leader of the offense. In this case, Kyle Trask. Not mentioning quarterbacks, but Kyle Pitts is not your ordinary tight end, all right? Kyle Pitts is 6'6", 240 pounds. Commonly mistaken to be much smaller than that, actually. But he is pretty tall. He just, not that heavy. 240 pounds is fairly light. There's people like Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce's like 60. Aaron Hernandez, RIP, was like 6'1", 245. So like clearly, 6'6", 240 is on the light side. But Kyle Pitts this year has 24 receptions for 414 yards, which is 17.3 yards per reception, and he has 8 touchdowns. Okay? He's a junior. Last year was really the first year he started doing anything. He didn't do anything his freshman year. Last year I think he finished the year with maybe 600 yards, and he's already at 414 this year. So they just didn't really throw to him as much. It was kind of, there was more in the offense last year. He started the year with 6 touchdowns through the first 2 games. He has 8 touchdowns total. He's only had 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Now, if you've watched the games, you saw him get hurt. You saw him go out with that concussion in the last game. It was looking like he was going to do a lot better had he not gone out. But besides the point, he absolutely dominated week 1 and week 2 with 4 touchdowns and 2 touchdowns. When he gets the targets, he catches the ball. He is for his size, he has enough size to overpower basically any secondary player in college football. Not that the secondary players in college football are anywhere close to secondary in the NFL. It's a much more physical secondary in the NFL. But he can just completely overpower secondary defenders at this level. And he has more than enough speed to get past linebackers. So he's kind of, at this stage of the game, in college football, and not unguardable, but damn near unguardable. There are not many players that are just in the right positions at the right time to be able to guard him based on the routes he runs. I mean, he just runs a lot of like posts. He runs a lot of corners. He runs a lot of streaks. He runs routes like Calvin Johnson. I'm not saying the man is Calvin Johnson. He's nowhere near as good as Calvin Johnson, but he runs routes like Calvin Johnson. And he overpowers people like Calvin Johnson at this stage. He's a decent blocker. That's one of the main concerns. People are like, oh, he can't block. He's too small. He's too light. You can watch him. He's a pretty good blocker. He's really not that bad at all. And I would say, as all of you could probably find the easy comparison, Darren Waller for the Raiders in the NFL. He is pretty much Kyle Pitts. Darren Waller came into the league. He was much lighter. He was expected to be really good, but he was not really the size needed to be really good. And when he came into the league, he was in a league where they needed size tight ends. So he kind of went team to team. Nobody really needed him until he found the Raiders, who were fine adapting to the hybrid tight end, I guess you might call it. But I think now it's different. It's a different league. Kyle Pitts, I've seen some projections on him getting drafted like low 20s, maybe the Cardinals, a team like that who, a vertical threat offense that could throw the ball up to him. I mean, you don't need him to block as much, and he's very fast for a tight end. I think he'll obviously put on weight. Everyone puts on weight. He's 240 pounds. He could easily get up to 255 before his rookie year. So I don't really think it's to me, it's not even really a discussion when you watch him play. I mean, there's a lot of people, like you said, like Etienne and stuff like that, who are just like phenomenal players, like guys who are more or less like unguardable as well, but not really, not to the extent that Kyle Pitts is. They just throw him up the ball. He's a reason that Trask is doing so good. He is one of the reasons.
Well, I honestly don't disagree with anything you just said at all. Like, there's a couple things, like you missed his weight by 6 pounds. I have him at 6'6", 246 pounds, whatever. I also think he can
better. That's even better.
Top 10, top 20, hopefully first round. If not, there's going to be issues with Kyle Pitts being in the NFL draft. An issue for me right now, I just couldn't stop thinking of his mutton chops when you were talking right now. I hate his facial hair, but anyways, let's get into it. So, for the sake of argument and actually helping your case, the Gators did miss a couple 2 weeks or 1 week with Corona.
2 weeks.
All right, so let's just give him. I mean, so what? Other teams have missed weeks too, but we're gonna give him a little bit fluff for the argument.
He's averaging like 50 to 70 yards a game.
And he got hurt in the Georgia game. So I have him at 24 receptions, 414 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Let's put him at 30 receptions, 500 yards, and 8 touchdowns, just for the sake of the argument, helping him out a little bit, just because there's no excuse for finishing the Georgia game. All right?
But probably, realistically, if he had played, probably more than 500 yards. Because if he had played the whole second half of Georgia, which he was dominating.
Because other guys, I'm literally doing this, and everyone on my list has been injured this year. So I can't really give him any leeway. Everyone has had a different season, whatever. I'm just, for the sake of the argument and proving my point that he's literally not better than them with fluff, that's basically what I'm doing right now. So I'm giving him 6 more catches and about 80 more yards, a little bit over 80 more yards. Now, let's get into it. Kyle Pitts is not top 50 in the NCAA in yards. So let's just start that with that. And here's a few names. When you say weapon, you're talking about, like I said, wide receiver, tight end, running back. Those are weapons.
Yes.
So I'll go with my running backs first because it's a little bit harder to compare them to a pass catcher. So let's just get it out of the way because these guys are clearly better. Travis Etienne, 634 yards. So already more yards than Pitts by a lot. Rushing, 5.2 average per carry, 10 touchdowns, more than Pitts. 37 catches, more catches than Pitts. 491 yards, more yards than Pitts, and 2 touchdowns. And Travis Etienne was banged up this year. So that was my main argument when you first said the point. That's my favorite guy beat.
Etienne is
the running back. He gets volume, I understand. So
Etienne is the main guy that I would say is, like I mentioned, he's the main guy who I think contends to that because
he's definitely better than reading those stats off.
He gets used so much. I mean, he's
the guy at Clemson.
Like
he's
the main guy in Florida.
Yeah, he's all they need. But Pitts it's hard. Now, you gave Pitts 500 yards, alleged yards, maybe. You gave him 86 yards in a whole half of football and 2 games where he's averaging almost 70 yards per game. So, I mean, I would think it would probably be closer to 600, admittedly.
All right, so let's give him if we give him 600 yards, Etienne still
I know.
Rushing yards than him, more rushing touchdowns, more touchdowns, and he's almost at him in yards, and he still has catches than him.
But
that's my case.
But look at Florida's offense also. You have Trask.
Kyle Pitts.
Huh?
It runs through Kyle Pitts. He's the main guy.
It kind of does though, but like Kadarius Toney had 3 touchdowns last week. We have so many people. We spread the ball so much. We spread the ball to like 7, 8, 9, 10 different receivers.
They do spread the ball, bro. The white dude, number 80.
Yeah, they spread the ball because Pitts was hurt, bro. You were just raving how he's unguardable. If he was unguardable, they would have spread it. But I gave you your time. Give me mine now. Gonna run through these things. There's a lot more closer comparisons to Pitts, which still favor my side. So, like I said, I prefaced that whole thing with the running backs. It's hard to compare, but Etienne's clearly the better player.
You need to remember the 17.3 yards per reception too, because that's substantial.
I get it. I mean, but
for a tight end, that's extremely substantial. Some of the better wide receivers in college football who are coming to the league as deep threats are getting 18 plus yards per catch. I mean, and he's at pretty much 18 yards per catch. That's insane, actually.
Okay. All right. I gave you your time. Gonna give me mine. I prefaced it so you wouldn't do this by saying running backs are hard to compare, and you're doing it anyways. Etienne, if anyone just heard what I said, obviously they're on my side. I really want to move on to this deep threat wide receiver because you just made a ridiculous claim that I can back up, but I'm going to finish my running backs first. But just know my first wide receiver will debunk what Billiam just said. But Najee Harris, he has more rushing yards than Etienne. He has more rushing touchdowns than Etienne. He has 20 catches and 183 yards. So he catches the ball a little bit less, and he's less effective than Etienne by a lot when he catches the ball. But he has more rushing yards and more rushing touchdowns. Like I said, he's a little bit more harder to compare because he doesn't catch the ball as well or as much. But he's still statistically much better than Kyle Pitts. And you can't tell me that Bama doesn't have a lot of weapons and they spread the ball, because they do. So that was a quick one, and I'll move on to the wide receivers and pass catchers now. DeVonta Smith. And this is discluding Jaylen Waddle because that was the main guy and they were throwing it to him. So with Jaylen Waddle in the lineup before he got hurt, DeVonta Smith, 56 receptions, so 32 more than Pitts, more than double, 759 yards, same amount of touchdowns, averaging 13.5 yards per catch, so 4 yards less. Wow, that's a big difference. Clearly better than Kyle Pitts, and with way more weapons, to be frank, than the Florida offense to deal with. He has to deal with Najee. Oh, there's a bug. It's one of those flies. He has to deal with Najee, Jaylen, Mechie. They've started using the tight end a little bit more in the Florida offense. So that's my case for that. Another guy that's clearly better. Again, Kyle Pitts isn't top 50 in receiving yards, and he's not top 30 if you give him 500. So moving on, Clemson. This guy has exactly double the catches as Kyle Pitts. He has 720 yards and 2 less receptions. That's Amari Rodgers. In another offense that apparently feeds Etienne, there's another guy that's better than Kyle Pitts, statistically. And they have way more mouths to feed than Bama. They have guys I don't even know that get the ball 3-4 times a game that chews into production from Etienne and Rodgers. So, and then I think the closest comparison to Pitts in the SEC in college football, Elijah Moore, Ole Miss. He's a little bit of the same build as Kyle Pitts. He's a killer. I like that guy a lot. He killed Bama's defense. 61 receptions, so literally almost triple the amount of Kyle Pitts' receptions. More than half of his yards, 829, and 6 touchdowns. Partially because Matt Corral stinks. Imagine if he had Kyle Trask throwing behind there. So those were my 5 guys that I picked out of the 50 that are ahead of Kyle Pitts. Those were my favorites. Obviously, Kyle Pitts he's well into the top 50 offensive weapons in college football. I think he could be outside of, like I said, he's missed games, but even with our cushions that we provided, even with the 700-yard cushion, I just named three receivers that have more yards than him, technically.
So would you take Amari Rodgers over Kyle Pitts?
Where am I, NFL or college?
College.
And if I'm at Florida or if I'm at Clemson or what? It depends what system I'm running.
You're a quarterback and you want one of them.
If I'm a quarterback, I want Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a weapon, and I like it. His build is way better than Amari Rodgers. I think Kyle Pitts will be more successful in the NFL because it's becoming more of a tight end league. And fast wide receivers are kind of especially I'm thinking fantasy football terms. Kyle Pitts. Imagine that next year if he had Kyler Murray or something. That's going to be crazy. Or if he went to dude, imagine Kyle Pitts being the next Jimmy Graham on the Saints, when Jimmy Graham would draw.
See, I've been thinking about the Cardinals for him a lot, and if he somehow ended up on the Cardinals and learned from D-Hop and Larry Fitzgerald, he would never drop a pass in his NFL career.
Yeah.
He would be a god. He would turn into a god there.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Caleb, I would probably rather have Kyle Pitts than Amari Rodgers for sure. But I'm just for the state of the argument, or for the case of the argument, Amari Rodgers has clearly had the better year, and he's more of an offensive weapon to his team than Kyle Pitts. I mean, he has more. I mean, he has double the receptions. Mac! Yo!
Dude, she's spazzing.
She's camera shy.
Hi, Mac. Jim McElwain.
Mac, welcome to the show.
So, Caleb, what do you think?
I mean, the people that you brought up, I would take Kyle Pitts over them. I mean, statistics, bro,
Take Kyle Pitts over DeVonta Smith?
That one would be the closest, but I would definitely take him over Amari Rodgers, Najee.
You would take him over Najee?
Yeah, I would take Kyle Pitts over Najee for sure.
What about Etienne?
See, I think Etienne's way more important to his team than
Etienne was
Etienne, as much as we say Kyle Pitts is the guy, bro, Etienne, bro, you read his stats, bro. The amount of carries he gets, the amount of catches he gets.
You say it runs through Pitts, it really doesn't. And although, you also named players who a lot of yards go out to receivers on Clemson. It's that offense, but
the offense doesn't run through Etienne.
It's like he's like Christian McCaffrey on that offense. McCaffrey's putting it runs through McCaffrey, but they're still putting up yards to all of their wide receivers as well. I mean, it's no different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can. If I'm a coach, I want Pitts because of his size, his ability. And I think
what it is. That's what it is. I think and all of your counter arguments, although they're good counters, you just didn't consider, like, one of the large considerations that I have in this, just not being a Florida fan, but it's really like his positional, I don't even know the word for it, but like his positional
saying, I know.
Like how he's his own at his position. It's when you compare him to running backs, it's hard. When you compare him to even receivers, it's hard because like he's a tight end. He's very different. And you have to also take into consideration that on his 24 catches, I mean, a lot of his catches are like double teamed, getting abused that he just goes up and snags. He high points like Calvin Johnson. He plays like a basketball player on the field. It's more that. It's more not necessarily just his stats. It's more when you really watch him play, you can just see how mismatched everyone is against him. I mean, he'll go up on people and they just have no hope. They just don't use him more. Admittedly, if they used him more, he'd be a lot better. If Kyle Pitts was on Clemson,
No, bro, that Florida's offense is the best offense for him. Kyle Pitts would be worse on Clemson.
I think so, but I think if he was on Clemson, he would just be 6'6", 255 pounds.
I think Kyle Trask is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence for Kyle Pitts. Pitts.
Maybe, yes, because he trusts him.
I think so. Well, Trevor doesn't need him. Kyle Trask needs him. Anyways, you said my arguments. You were kind of trying to debunk my arguments, and I'm sure some of them can be.
No, not your arguments as a whole, because I told you your Etienne. In my opinion, Etienne is the greatest argument. Etienne is outstanding.
I was about to say I gave you 5 arguments of who is better than him statistically. I'm not asking for you to accept all 5, but out of 5 people that are technically better than him, one of those definitely landed, and I think it's Etienne for sure. I've thought that this whole time. I think multiple are better than Kyle Pitts, offensively weaponized. But, I mean, it's been proven. Well, you can say this, you can say that, his potential is that. We all agree his potential is crazy.
Yes.
Right now, he is not the best weapon in college football. All I was arguing.
But I think the reason I said it had a lot to do with the factors like I was saying about, like, his just mismatches and his potential. I mean, I consider his potential. And I think even out of all those players you just named, including Etienne, at least me, I think Pitts has the most potential.
NFL-wise, yes.
Yeah, because Etienne is outstanding. Etienne is outstanding. He'll get to the league, and he'll be like every other outstanding running back that gets there. I mean, none of them really end up – a very select few end up being, like, gods in the NFL. But now the league needs tight ends, and the league is – the teams are dying for a hybrid tight end. So, like, you have the best one coming out that you've seen in a while.
Yeah, we're talking about the best offensive weapon in college football, not NFL potential. That's the argument.
But when I say the best weapon in college football, I'm addressing Kyle Pitts as a player, not just Kyle Pitts' stats as a Florida Gator.
I agree. Yeah, but the stats
injuries hurt him a lot.
Pitts are hand in hand. They're close when you talk about potential and player, college football wise. Now, you pull up the stats, Etienne blows him out of the water, and that's where it goes.
Yes.
But also, so do every single other guy that I just named statistically blows him out of the water. Now, potential. Kyle Pitts has more potential, in my opinion, than Amari Rodgers. DeVonta Smith, I want to check his speed before I say that.
I think DeVonta Smith is just a product of that guy being
Bama. Yeah.
He's just a product of being the guy at Bama right now. Like, they always have the guy.
He hasn't been the guy. It was Jaylen Waddle.
But it's like the same thing as, like, who did they have? It wasn't Jaylen Waddle. Didn't Jaylen Waddle do the same thing when he was, like, a freshman? Like,
Jaylen Waddle was the 4th guy last year behind DeVonta Smith. And then Jaylen Waddle got better than DeVonta Smith.
Yeah, exactly. He just started getting more. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of just who they throw to. I don't think either one is just getting better than the other. It's just who they're giving the ball to more.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. He's good. Like,
yeah, he's good.
And the stats probably are a little inflated towards my favor. But, again, the argument boils down to at least one of them, and that's Etienne. And I think I've proven my point. But it was good. It was a good banter. Anything to add, Kaleb?
No.
Before we get into your rant with Michigan?
God. No, that was pretty good. I mean, I agree with both sides. Kyle Pitts definitely grew on me since I heard Billiam. little thing though. But then the stats are hard. Numbers don't lie, bro.
Yeah.
It's like impossible to freaking be like you know that he's better than freaking the dude from Clemson, but like he's got, you know what I'm saying, the stats are better, so like fuck.
By a lot too, and that's where I'm like, I'm looking at these stats and I disregarded like about 10 other guys because there's just no way he's better, but the stats technically say they are, and I thought those were the best guys to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And Pitts grew on me in that argument. I already liked him, but also Etienne grew on me because I realized, wow, he's actually like, I didn't even appreciate Etienne that much.